There are moments in life that become so heavy, so loud, and so overwhelming that you can't see a way forward. For some, that moment becomes a breaking point, but sometimes that is exactly where God steps in. I'm Megan. I'm the host of It's Your Story to Tell, and I am so honored to be joined today by Angie. She's a motivational speaker, a recovery advocate, and a certified coach who helps women move from isolation and despair into healing, hope, and a renewed life in Christ. She's going to walk us through her story. We talk very vulnerably and open on this podcast, and we're going to talk about a hard story about suicide and death and coming back after that. And I also want you to know that there is help. You can reach out to the crisis lines. If you just Google, you can find who in your area can support you if you find yourself in a really dark place, overwhelmed, and feeling like you just don't want to go on anymore. Thanks so much, Angie, for being here and being willing to share your story with our listeners. I think it's so important for people to hear the backstory so that they can fully understand how good God is. Will you start walking us through what was going on when you came to this point that led to the decision to commit suicide?
Yes. Well, thank you, Megan, for having me on. I'm super grateful, and I just want to say that us using this platform, and yes, to be able to tell the story and to bring hope to those that are in need, or especially like if they know someone that are in need, because I know, take it from me, that if I would have had someone telling their story when I was going through that, maybe that would have led me to hope. So that's why God tells me, like, you have to tell that story for that person, that woman, that even that man, because it's not just, women. Depression is real, anxiety is real. And mostly than not, that breaking point is for everyone. So for me, when I was at that breaking point, it was very dark in my life. I mean, I had my son, I had a relationship, we were moving from New York to Pennsylvania, so that was a big move. And it was just going on a lot. But if I were to say the pain point was, having a relationship that we say like it's a toxic relationship, that at first it's all nice and dandy. Then I kind of like at the end before the breaking point, and that's when it becomes toxic where you can't stand each other, or, it's a lot of emotional abuse. It was never physical. Thank God it was never physical, but it was more like emotional and physical. I mean, sorry, emotional and verbal. That's what I meant to say. Because like for me, physicality, that can go away. The pain is just there for a little bit. But if it's verbal or emotional, that gets stays in the mind and in the heart more. So there was a lot of times that, this person would play a part of saying like, well, what am I good for? Like, what am I doing? Like the house is not even clean, like stuff like that. But I'm like, I still have a full-time job. I'm still taking care of the kids. And we know as mothers, like we have like a bajillion jobs. It's not just the whole 9 to 5 and then coming home and you still have to be the parents and the chef and the cook, everything, right? So it becomes at that point where I'm overwhelmed because it's a constant thing. It was never just one time and it was done, or like one big incident that led to everything. No, it was a lot of little things. So when it becomes those little things over and over and over, that's when it's like it explodes at the end. And I feel now that I'm walking with God too, I understand that back then the enemy played a lot of part. I mean, I fully believe that this is not just a physical world, right? Or physical war. We're in a spiritual war. So I can remember having like those ideas. Well, what about if you were gone? What about if this? And then especially I was a heavy drinker because that played a good part. I mean, the drinking was like the escape, right? If we want to
Mm-hmm.
say that, to kind of numb, or even just to feel like I had my friends. I was always going out, clubbing or whatever, but it was mostly like to feel good, because as soon as they come home and friends are gone, it's like we're going back to the same thing. So it's like the isolation, the loneliness, the I don't feel okay. So the drinking was my out. And during those times, we start thinking, I can do anything, and then I will get aggressive. You know that when they say like when you're drinking that it's like a spirit that comes over you, you become someone else. For
Mm-hmm.
sure. There was time that I look back and I can see that I'm like, this is not me. But there was no escape. So there was this one time that I was really, really in an argument. We were really arguing, and I remember asking this person, like, just let me know what it is that you need to be happy. Like, just tell me, like, at this point, because my thinking is if you're happy, then you're gonna make me happy, and then we'll be in a happy cycle, right? That does not work. That does not work. It doesn't. Point blank, there was nothing said. Like, there's nothing you can do. And I remember saying, well, oh, how about if I just, die? Would that even matter? And the response was like, it doesn't matter. So, like, especially when someone says that, even if they don't mean it, it's like, okay, bet. I don't even have nothing that can hold me here. And I had my son and I had my mom and my sister. Like, I have family. But thinking in that moment, I wasn't thinking about any of that. But I remember I had it all planned out. I'm like, that's it. I'm done. And like I said, I would hear the voices like, yeah, do it. And then the more that I was drinking, the more I can hit, the more like powerful. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm done. I'm in pain, suffering. I just want everything to end, basically. And that night, I remember sending my sister a long message saying my goodbyes, letting her know, to make sure she takes care of my son. I was sending her money through like Zelle, Cash App, like anything that I could do, like just make sure that you're taking care. Because my goal was to go to sleep and don't wake up. So I waited until 3 o'clock in the morning because I knew that she was going to be sleeping at that time. And then shortly enough, went to my room. I overdosed. I passed out. I'm done. At this time, I feel like emptiness. Like I knew I had died because I wasn't in my body, but I just felt like this presence. Like I didn't see angels or the white light at the end of the tunnel, like none of that. I did research to see if someone like experienced the same thing. And I'm like, why didn't I feel like or saw none of that? Okay, I did, and my experience was totally different. But I did hear very audible, like in my ear and in my spirit, God telling me like it's not your time. It's not your time. And then I get pulled back and like pulled back to my body. And then I wake up and I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? I see EMTs in my house, cops all over. I had pain in my chest because I guess they were doing CPR and the defibrillator. So I came back to life. I didn't know how did that happen. Later on, I knew because my sister was telling me a story that message that I sent her, I waited at 3 o'clock in the morning. She was up at that time, which it was unnormal. She had a 3-month-old baby. The baby will always sleep through the night, so she was good. But that night, the baby was colicky, was
Mm.
crying, she's like, this was, now obviously we know, we talk
I
about
just
it.
got chills. I'm like, that's totally God.
Yes, and this is like that's how like I know, and I didn't know then, but like after time passed and we're like talking about it and we're putting the pieces together, it's like, oh my God, you're so good. Like the things that you do that when we look back is when we know one, you're real. There is no way that that could have happened, like how it would have happened and everything. Because like I said, the baby will always sleep. And that day she's like with him. I remember she told me she was with him carrying him. He was crying. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? But the point is that she had to be up by the time that I sent the message. And when she saw the message, obviously she's calling me. I don't know what's my phone. She lives in New York and I live in Pennsylvania. So she calls the cops here in Pennsylvania. And then they come to my house and do a wellness check. So weirdly enough, they came in the house and all that happened. And like I said, everything happened during that time frame because once I got to the hospital that the doctor told me, I'm like, if they were not have made it at the time that they did, you wasn't gonna come back. So it's like everything like that. So after that, of course, I'm like, okay, why am I here? Like I remember hearing the voice, but I'm like, why did you save me? And I kept remember having like that disappointment kind of thing because again, I wanted to end. But that God has other plans. I wanted the pain to end, but the pain still didn't go away. Because again, it doesn't just instantly go away. There's a transition and a process that I had to walk for God to reveal little by little and a lot of work, mental, emotionally, to get past that. But when I say that he's just moving in my life, like from that moment on, it's been like, okay, we are walking together. and it's been ups and downs because, our walk with God can be ups and downs, but the faith has become stronger because I look back at that and I say, if you can pull me back from that, if you can forgive from that, and even like the life that I was living, because let me tell you, had I died for real that night, I know exactly where I was gonna go. And now I think about that, and that's the fear. Like I know I was gonna go to hell because of the life. I didn't have God in my life. I was sinning left and right. There was no redemption for me. You know what I mean? But then once again, everything happened the way that it happened. I was like, I can't go back. Like I had to try my best at least, because again, we're not perfect, but I need to try to do the right thing, or to seek God and to walk with God. And thank God that He loves us and He has grace for us, because I don't know what we're gonna do.
So true, for sure. One of the things that I often think about in the work that I do with people is thinking about, yes, there was the toxic relationship, but were there things in your younger years that resulted in maybe a lack of confidence? I was in a very unhealthy relationship and I had great parents, and I had parents that went to church and they were married and they gave me every opportunity and sent me to private school and to college and all of these things. But I never really learned how to cope with hard things, with emotions. We didn't have that ability to talk about these hard things, which is why I do this podcast, being able to talk about these things. And when I finally stepped out of what I had learned, perfectionism and people pleasing and the codependency, there's so much freedom when we are honest and vulnerable. But I had so much work to do then to kind of go back, even though I wanted something different. I had to go back in all of these different places that God revealed to me so that I could find healing and process those things, because those things from our past create beliefs that we have about ourselves. And then it results in how we interact with others. So I'm just curious if there were things that you can look back to that even led you into unhealthy relationships. Are you tired of repeating the same patterns, feeling stuck in your story, and wondering if real change is even possible? In my book, Unstuck, Break Free from What's Holding You Back and Create a Life You Love, I walk you through the path from survival to transformation, blending faith, neuroscience, and soul deep healing. This book, it's not just words on a page. It's a companion for your journey. Whether you've experienced trauma or just feel lost in the noise of life, Unstuck will meet you there with truth, compassion, and tools that actually work. It's time to stop surviving and start living your story with purpose. Grab your copy today on Amazon.
For sure. And I completely agree with you 100%. In my case, I was raised in the Dominican Republic, in the DR, so I'm Spanish. First of all, we don't talk about
And
our
it's
feelings.
so beautiful. I love it there.
Oh, okay, yeah, it is. I love my island. It is. But there's a lot of freedom there. I mean, there's not like a lot of rules or laws kind of thing. That's the only bad thing about it, I would say. But even growing up, like at an early age, I had freedom to go out and to be in the clubs at whatever age, at an early age. And I wasn't raised with my parents, although my mom was here in the States, like she was working two jobs. And then my sister and I over there were like an aunt or a babysitter slash housekeeper person. So it was just basically my sister and I and this person. And I can say that maybe if we're bringing that from the past, I was always very like the strong one, because I'm like the older sister and I'm, the tough one. And I'm also from New York. So again, we have to be tough. We don't talk about our feelings. So if you have something going on, we just need to suck it up and get it moving. So I think that's a number one thing. Like you said, we're not vulnerable, and we don't talk about the things in order to resolve it. It's just like, okay, we put the stuff under the rug, keep on pushing, keep on moving kind of thing. But when it came to like the unhealthy relationship thing, I can maybe say with confidence that perhaps it comes from maybe not growing up with my parents and having that sense of, well, this is my man, because I was with this person for 8 years. Like, we were engaged, we were gonna get married. So I was like, I am not gonna give up on this relationship that I invested already 8 years of my life. Like, things are gonna get better. We're just gonna push it through. The red flags were there all the time. Like, I can see them. I mean, I know them now, but back then I didn't see them. I was just like, okay, this is just, we're gonna get through this. It's gonna get better. It could be healthy. Like, I want to change. And again, maybe I may. We're gonna change it. We're gonna make this work. Like, we can do anything until it doesn't. Like, those are the things that now I have awareness of those. And then again, I talk about that too. That's part of the whole self-love thing. It's okay to have your boundaries. It's okay to walk away. Like, walk away from that person, walk away from that job, walk away from that situation that doesn't serve you. Like, automatically you start seeing the red flags, or you start seeing things that you're not feeling okay. Choose you and walk away. It's gonna be better at the end. It's gonna be just hard at the beginning, but we don't need to let it get to that situation where then it explodes and you're like, oh my God, I should have known this all along. We knew. I knew. You knew.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you just hope for restoration. I think that's a beautiful part of us. God created us to desire connection and restoration, and He is such a good God, and He does want to give us good things and restore things, but there's free will in this world. And so it's important to understand those things. And I couldn't agree more about the spiritual warfare. And I think we'll talk about that a little bit more as we're going into part 2, where we're going to talk about what God has done in you, how He walked with you to self-love, having boundaries, knowing how to do spiritual warfare. And this is the part of the story where we're going to equip the listeners in order to be able to change their life, go back, deal with the past, and move forward in a healthy way. I really appreciate you being here, sharing so openly about the hard, and I look forward to continuing the conversation in part 2.